To say that a game is just as good as its predecessor, or to bring up the fact that it can be better in any way than its predecessor, is almost the same as screaming blasphemous atrocities from the rooftop of a church while an entire Catholic mass is going on beneath you. I hate you, God. Why did you make my parents get divorced when I was 7? Hey, don't say that. But sometimes you have to be ready to re-inspire the Crusades. I'm gonna say it. Psychonauts 2 is just as good as Psychonauts. Game and character analysis, everybody. It's gonna be a little wacky.
ドキドキしとる。
When I initially started my journey into the realm of Psychonauts 2, I thought that the video that would be birthed from my journey would be something that compared the two games to one another. One of them versus videos, boys. Fear me. Look at this. Yeah. 2 people dead. Yeah. Gone. But to compare two things that are both of equal yet different artistic merit, and to say that those two things are comparable, is to not make any sense of the incomparable itself. Stop comparing everything, okay? Something doesn't have to be better than something else. They're both good. They're both freaking great. Psychonauts 2 makes me feel the imaginative nature that it takes to fully comprehend a thought, to grasp what it looks like. It's literally gorgeous. Hear the sounds that protrude from its being, and feel the sensations shrouded in emotions that are being brought forth by its ideas, is to gain an understanding of what this game does as an art form. Am I a little stupid sometimes? 100%. Psychonauts came out 16 years ago in 2005 and gave us Tim Schafer, the writer and creator's mind. It was amazing. It felt like anger, disillusionment, desire, and the goal to find oneself creatively wrapped within the plot of a game about mental illness. Which, not gonna lie, feels a lot like your mid-20s. I would know. I'm in my mid-20s and getting here, it's not easy. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can check out my first video. And if you already have, thank you. I appreciate you. We think of video games and their creators as away from us, not realizing that the time it took people like Schafer to make Psychonauts 2 was, and is in fact, the same time that we've been living in. 16 years of Tim Schafer's life was what it took to make this Psychonauts sequel come out. That's crazy.
You know, I grew up loving his games, and he has built this amazing studio, Double Fine.
I'm not that much older. Yeah, I'm not that much older.
But that studio, it's
16 years was my childhood and adolescence. What I'm trying to say is that when I was a kid, Tim Schafer was a young adult making Psychonauts. Then he tried to make Psychonauts 2, but Psychonauts 1 did so horribly that a bunch of video game companies were like, fuck you, you're not making a sequel to Psychonauts. Now I'm a young adult, and Tim Schafer's an adult, and he managed to make Psychonauts 2 with the help of crowdfunding through Fig. He made $3.2 million. Whoa! And he also got $8 million through some Swedish company named Starbreeze, and he probably made a ton of money making Psychonauts 2. So fuck you other video game companies that didn't accept Psychonauts 2, you bastards. And when I'm an adult, Tim Schafer will probably be an old man or dead. Oh no, that's kind of fucked up. But let me tell you what's not freaked up. The original Psychonauts spoke just as true to my 7-year-old self as it now does to my 25-year-old self. Psychonauts 2 does the same thing, but in reverse, by exercising the nostalgic love out of me like a priest who claims his 12-year-old altar boy is possessed. I'm not sorry, Pope Man. Clean up your creepy pedo wizard castles. Weird. Well, Psychonauts gave me a look at young adulthood and the effects of mental illness and made me be like, oh my god, I hope that doesn't happen to me, which it totally did. Psychonauts 2 gave me a peek at the challenges that life gives you in late adulthood, and I'm like, oh shit, I hope that also doesn't happen to me, but it probably will. Through playing Psychonauts 2, I was able to experience emotional fragments that encapsulated the emotions of anxiety, grief, sympathy, and acceptance by wandering as Rasputin in a story that placed itself around a singular point of conjecture. That point being Maligula, this evil, creepy psychic lady's battle with the original Psychic 6. These people, you know, they're very integral to the story. And old... You know what Sam Hyde says about old people?
We're just gonna kill them!
Also, there are about to be some minor spoilers, as I'm about to insert myself into the territory of narrative speculation. I meant literally, not in a sexual way, you creeps, unless she was a beautiful girl that actually cared about my feelings and was interested in getting to know me in like a cool, intellectual, level and read books and watched anime and would play video games with me. The battle that they had is recounted on numerous occasions as you jump through the minds of different members of the Psychic Six, but each mind includes a retelling of the story that adds twists and turns in unexpected ways. Oh my god, you've never heard that before, so you gotta stay for longer now. Instead of those twists and turns involving the trope of a traumatic event occurring and then seeing it from the perspective of multiple characters, like that happens in other movies, I'm sure of it. I can't think of any, but it happens. We experience what different members of the Psychic Six felt at the time of this traumatic battle, as well as how the battle's emotions have lingered and stuck onto them 20 years after its occurrence. It's fragmented storytelling in its purest form. The player never receives a full structurally sound picture of what happened with Maligula. Not necessarily because any of the characters are unreliable narrators in their experiences with this central battle, but because the minds that we traverse are expressing different traumas that they attach to themselves from the fight. Except maybe this guy. Probably shouldn't trust him because it's looking like October came early, because this man's looking a little spooky. At one point, we're tossed into what the player assumes is a random mind in a jar of mind juice. It's kind of gross, but soon come to find out that it's the mind of a bodiless Psychic Six member who was thought to have died in the battle against Maligula, which is even more gross because who wants to die? Nobody, because you turn to a gross skeleton. Here we're able to witness a soul who's lost touch with what it means to be human.
Am I everything? Am I God?
Am I God? As the soul slowly begins to regain its humanity, and we travel in eudaimonia along the mind's shifting world, it changes from an eternal darkness to a bountiful world of psychedelic colors that's reminiscent of a 60s music video and allows us to know that all the creators were taking hard drugs during the making of this game. I'm pretty sure. Please don't sue me. These changes cause the soul to be struck with fear induced by sensory overload, but instead of Psychonauts 2 explaining this to us, we have enemies spawn that are incarnations of the soul's panic attacks in physical form. These things are horrifying. They look like the panic attacks I have in real life. After destroying these panic attacks, Rasputin, along with the player, figure out that the members of the Psychic Six that the soul belongs to is Helmut Fullbear, and recognize that the way in which Helmut recounts the battle with Maligula is an agony for trying to talk Maligula out of her psychotic episode. This causes him to die in an effort to save his husband. Helmut, in his death, believes that his husband was also killed in the battle right after him, and that he let his friends down. This leads him to think that they forgot about him. But in dealing with these negative emotions, he's able to work out that he is the one and only cause of his mental misery. Initially, darkness seems like comfort for Helmut, but only through peering out of his mental abyss and facing his problems head-on is he able to escape this self-inflicted prison of ignorance and free himself into the rejoicing world he had hidden but always had within his mind. Soon after his encounter with Helmut, Rasputin jumps into Helmut's husband, Billy's brain. Billy's mind is represented by Billy being stuck on an island with giant flower pots that represent 3 traumatic events in his life. I like to keep my traumatic events in this canon. I hate you, God! The traumatic events Billy deals with are much different than mine, with them being getting fired from the Psychonauts, the death of his aunt in a greenhouse from what we can only assume was caused by alcoholism due to the bottles that fall out of the greenhouse in a flashback sequence, and the death of his husband, Helmut. So these traumatic events are a lot less serious than mine, if we're being honest here. But the imagery that the different bottles' exteriors and interiors provide, as well as the scene with his aunt, the player can gather that alcoholism ran in his family. The death of Helmut caused him to pick up the bottle, and picking up the bottle led him to getting fired from his job. As a result of finding the seed that each bottle contains, the player sees the battle with Maligula from Billy's lived perspective. The agony that came with it brought back the uncontrollable urge for Billy to seek substances instead of going through the natural healing process of anguish, therefore causing his mind to fall into an island of emptiness, which forced him away from the solution that he needed. The solution being the need to deal with his issues without the help of alcohol, and allowing his seeds of suffering to sprout between his pots' dirt of misery so that they could grow into saplings of hope. At the end of Rasputin's journey through Billy's mind, Billy does just that. Though the seedlings that form are small, they are still stepping stones in Billy's growth from intoxication, as well as heal the aggressive self-entrapment that comes from playing the victim, which is a perfect segue into the mind of Maligula. Without spoiling enough to give the entire game away, I don't want to be a jerk. Going into the mind of Maligula showed the craft placed upon the game's storytelling. My first time going through the level, I was in it to finish the game and had missed one of the memory vaults due to my mad speedrunning skills. What I found once I went back to collect the memory vault flipped all of the context and knowledge I had previously held in my mind. I felt all mushy and weird. At first, I thought I was going into the mind of someone whose fight or flight system had been triggered by a sense of duty. I thought Maligula wanted to please her country, Grulovia's dictator, as that's what was explained by some of the main characters of the game. That Maligula had killed innocent people to please the country's czar. This made me be like, whoa, this bitch is basically Hitler. She's Shitler. Finding the last vault, I came to realize that the break in Maligula's fight or flight system was a lot sadder and triggered when she had accidentally killed a large crowd of people that was led by her sister. That's so messed up. This made me be like, damn, this is a sad, misunderstood lady, and I don't mean that to like offend her with the dam that she broke that killed her sister, but you know, we should leave her alone. Psychonauts 2 is not about the player getting to the end of the story in order to defeat one big bad boss, but about the journey that allows us to study its characters. The themes of overwhelming anxiety stemming from the sensory overload that's caused by overthinking and not being exposed to what one fears manifesting into panic attacks, the devastating results that occur through years of substance abuse when that's what seems easiest to turn to after the loss of a lover, and the psychotic break that can occur through an injection of toxic, guilt-ridden responsibility when a sibling is lost in a tragic accident are all bewitchingly packed into Psychonauts 2. What makes this subject matter ignite with optimism is the life that springs forth from the thematic elements that these characters share, and realizing that at the end of the day, the anxiety, the overthinking, the substances, and the mistakes that they've made are all in their heads. Everyone is just a couple of thoughts and good decisions away from making the first step to changing their lives, video game characters or not. So long as the mistakes we've made aren't catastrophic or inherently evil, there's always the ability to grow past our Jungian shadows. As Andy Andrews states, most people think it takes a long time to change. It doesn't. Change is immediate, instantaneous. It may take a long time to decide to change, but change happens in a heartbeat. Also, this girl emotionally abuses animals. No, you're evil. Thank you, everybody. Don't verbally abuse animals. Goodbye.